Welcome to Rethinking Parenting. My name is Cristina Young, and I teach parents of teenagers. Join me here on Fridays to learn practical tools, strategies, and scripts designed to help you manage the challenges of raising teens in today's complex world. Welcome back to Rethinking Parenting with me, Cristina Young. I've got a solo episode for you today, and it's called Fortifying Yourself. It's almost summer. I think this will be a valuable episode to my listeners because I've been in conversation with the moms in my parenting groups about these topics, and it just seems timely. Everybody's getting ready for summer. There's chaos approaching. There's also a sense of relief. And my hope is by the end of this episode that you have a few concrete suggestions for how to be proactive and intentional about your time this summer because it's valuable. So let's dive into these ideas on how to fortify yourself as summer is approaching. So for me, summer always means a lot of transitions, and lately I've been experiencing all of them. The first one I want to tell you about is saying goodbye to my amazing intern from the University of Miami, Hunter. Hunter worked with me for a whole year, and she was delightful and cute and smart and funny and just like so much more up to speed on all things social media than me. She taught me so much. She's a beautiful photographer. She updated all the photos on my website. So Hunter and I had our farewell lunch recently, and we got to talking about imposter syndrome. And what I remember learning is that imposter syndrome is the number one presenting complaint for women in therapy. Isn't that fascinating? I'm not proud of that for our gender, but it's so incredibly common and common for men too. But basically what I mean by imposter syndrome is that feeling of like, someone's going to find me out. Someone's going to realize I'm a fake. I don't actually belong here. I don't actually know the things that I pretend to know. So my intern and I were talking about this as she's thinking about, next steps, a new job and traveling alone this summer. So we got into also a really nice conversation about daring greatly. If you've ever heard of Brene Brown, it's one of the books that she wrote that is my very favorite of all time. And I just have so much regard for her as a professor, as a social worker, as a thinker. And in her book, Daring Greatly, she talks about the quote by Teddy Roosevelt. And I won't read you the whole thing. I actually posted on my Instagram about it recently. But the long and the short of the quote, which means so much to me, and I think I've thought about 1,000 times in my life, is listen, I'm in the arena, I'm in the ring. I'm getting dust kicked up on my face. I'm sweating here. I threw myself in the middle, in the center for all to see. And at least I'm trying to do my craft. I'm trying to do the thing that matters to me. I'm daring greatly. And by the way, all y'all up in the high seats wanting to criticize me, I don't see you here in the ring with me. I don't see you in the arena. And somehow this quote, my little interpretation of it there, it's just inspired me. And so I told the quote to my intern and I said, you're the one who's out there trying. And that's where you want to be. You want to be the one falling down, sweat on your brow, but at least you're out there trying. And when I think about imposter syndrome and the ways that it impacts me still as an old broad, I think about that quote and like, okay, yeah, but at least I'm trying. I'm putting myself out there. And for that, I feel proud. Another transition that's been on my mind recently is one that has to do with letting your guard down when you're dealing with something like imposter syndrome. And it's something my intern and I talked about as well. And I think of it as opening your kimono. And a very wise speech coach talked to me about this concept years ago. And the idea of opening your kimono is imagine you're standing at a podium and you're nervous about speaking publicly because of imposter syndrome. And the idea is like literally like take your kimono and open it up and be like, hey, feeling a little nervous here up on this podium. But I care so passionately about this information that I'm sharing with you that I'm going to keep going and I might stumble and I might make a fool out of myself. But I'm learning to do better each time and I care about this information. So here I go. I love that so much. For anyone who's worked with me, you've heard me talk ad nauseum about transparency in your family and that idea of taking yourself off the pedestal, being vulnerable, letting your kids know when you're struggling, when you're nervous, when you're not sure how to proceed. Opening your kimono is the same thing. It's naming your truth. It's just saying to the audience, like, hey, I'm trying, but I'm not sure. Okay. Just like imposter syndrome, like here I am. By the way, just like this podcast, just like moving this onto YouTube where I'm nervous and I've only done a couple of these. I'm sure I'm messing it up a ton. Maybe it's not as good as other people who are seasoned, but I'm here, I'm in the arena, right? And I'm opening my kimono and I'm saying I care so much about the information that I talk about all the time that I'm willing to stumble in an effort to stay true to what my passion is, my cause is. Okay, on a different note, but this is still about transitions and just sort of preparing for this change to summer. I've been noticing that the quality of the light in Miami is different lately. And it truly had me in tears this morning talking to one of my parenting groups about it because I'm noticing there's melancholy for me lately. And I finally put my finger on it is that 2 years ago, right now, I was driving every day to different hospitals, to acute rehab. I was visiting my mom. She was in the process of dying. And 2 years ago, right now, she had all sorts of things wrong with her. She had so many doctor's appointments. She was mostly in the hospital, and we were losing her. But we didn't know yet that she would be gone by July. So this July 15th will make 2 years. But it has just kind of thrown me for a loop in the last couple of days, and I realized it's the light. And here in Miami, the light has turned to summer light. And so we're transitioning again. We're transitioning to summer. And it's just hit me personally, like what that transition feels like. And I'm a person who's so in tune with her senses and like the smells even in Miami right now. The mango trees are getting ready to blossom. I'm smelling gardenias everywhere on my walk. And all of these things point to, yep, this is where I was 2 years ago. I was saying goodbye to my mom in a long, grueling way. And it just has me pause about where I am now versus where I was 2 years ago. So, again, a lot of transitions. Another transition that's on my mind as we get ready for summer is this. I'm flying to LA next week to see our middle daughter graduate from college. And she's graduating from the same place, USC, that our older daughter graduated from back in 2022. It's also where I graduated from 100 years ago from graduate school. And so I feel a deep nostalgia of saying goodbye to that school because a lot of different memories have taken place there, not only for me, but also for my daughters. And it served all of us really well. So I don't know. I'm feeling nostalgic about attending the college graduation, about seeing my beautiful daughter Riley transition into this next, like much more adult phase of her life. Watching her follow in the footsteps of her older sister who just got a promotion, go Delaney. I don't know. I got a lot of big feelings right now. And I know it's all about this transition stuff. So, um, I want to switch gears a little bit and I want to talk about knowing all of these transitions are upon us. What do we do? How can we fortify ourselves? If you know anything about my work, so much of my work is about being proactive and taking a glance at what's ahead and asking myself, what can I set up now so that I can succeed down the road? And a conversation that I had this morning with my moms of middle schoolers group It was so interesting, and they always have so many great comments. But we were talking about when your kids are around in the summertime. And okay, fine, maybe they go to camp some of the day, maybe some of them go to sleepaway camp. But we were talking about how we spend so much of our time as moms anticipating being interrupted. There's got to be a label for that. I'd like to create some label for that because constantly being in a state of anticipating being interrupted means that you never actually are in your flow state. And I love being in a flow state. And let me define for you what I'm talking about. Being in your flow state for a lot of us is where you derive intense happiness because when you're in your flow state, you lose track of time. You are so intensely engrossed in the thing that you're doing that you lose track of mind. So you know what I'm talking about. It's you're deeply enjoying a book and all of a sudden you lift your eyes and you're like, whoa, 2 hours have passed. Or even if you're doing work, but it's interesting work and you're deeply engrossed in it and it's meaningful to you, same thing, you lose track of time. That's getting to be in your flow state. And again, having kids home where they're not leaving for school all day and we are more responsible for their food, their whereabouts, everything, it means you're unlikely to get into your flow state quite as often. And in fact, you're anticipating being interrupted. So I kind of wanted to say to all you moms out there, that's a real thing. And do what you can to manage it. We are joking about if you go on a run, and let's say you go on a run for an hour, like God bless you, you know you're not going to be interrupted for those 60 minutes. And that's huge. And that allows you to get into your flow state, whether you're listening to music or listening to a podcast or listening to Audible. Like for 60 blessed minutes, you're in your own headspace. So see if you can arrange something like that regularly this summer. But this is what we were talking about this morning in the group is what can you do now to plan ahead? Because I went around and asked all the moms in my group, what is it that you will likely forego once summer starts? I remember having 3 kids at home during the summer. It's exciting and there's anticipation and it's thrilling and the weather's better and there's long summer light. But you also end up sort of forfeiting some of the things that you really treasure during the school year because you're mom. And whether you're a full time working mom or you're full time working mom at home, schedules change. And it means that you don't have as much time to yourself. So, my invitation to you is to think now, before they're let out on that last day of school, what can I do now to make sure that I get what I need during this summer? Okay, so one of the things that I want to suggest to you is really thinking long and hard about self care. And in our group again this morning, we were talking about self care during the summer. And I think there's a very interesting distinction to be made. I love this distinction about self care. There's 3 pillars of self care that you can consider. One is emotional regulation, and that includes things like mindfulness, saying no when you mean no, journaling, dedicating time for reading. Those are the things that you cement in your schedule so that you know you are well regulated emotionally. Okay, so that's the first pillar of self care. The second pillar of self care, which is so important, and I think probably gets more attention, or at least the moms I know are maybe a little bit more dedicated to this, would be physical rhythms. So, moving your body physically. Are you making sure that you're attending your favorite exercise class? You're taking a walk with your neighbor. You're stretching regularly. You're meditating. You're getting enough sleep. Like all of the things that help regulate your body physically. What can you do now? Again, before your kids run out the door on that final day of class, what can you do now to make sure you're setting yourself up to succeed physically this summer? And then number 3, and this is the final pillar of self care, has to do with something called identity reinforcement. And I love this. And identity reinforcement is the time that you spend with friends or pursuing hobbies or engaging in work that is meaningful to you and really defines you. So see if you can, again, carve out time. What do you need? What do you need to make sure is in your schedule? Part of that identity reinforcement is making sure that you have consistent, regular time with friends. And I can't emphasize enough how important this is, especially to mothers, especially during the summer when you're going to be likely spending more time with your kids, whether they're children, whether they're teenagers, whether they're college students home. Your schedule will not necessarily be yours the way it was during the school year. And one of the ways to fortify yourself, to make sure that you're getting what you need, is filling your bucket with time with friends. So, what do you need to set up now to make sure you can check that box? Super important. Okay, moving on. I want to talk about boundary setting as it pertains to fortifying yourself to succeed this summer. Boundary setting is so hard. It's a conversation I have again and again and again with the women that I work with in my practice. And I'll start by saying this. When someone sets a boundary, there will always be another someone who's getting disappointed. So let me explain. I think about a boundary as like a line, right? When you set a line, when you set a boundary with someone, either they're getting disappointed because you set the boundary and you said, no, I'm not doing that, or you don't set that line, you don't set that boundary, and guess who's getting disappointed? You yourself. You're disappointing yourself because you didn't set the boundary. So that's why we all avoid boundary setting, because somebody's getting disappointed. It's either just us or them. It's why we're not good at it. We avoid conflict. It's uncomfortable. So let's talk about 4 rules you can use to set boundaries more gracefully with yourself this summer. So the first thing is, I want you to remember and anticipate this. Know this is true. When you set that boundary, there will be a very brief period of discomfort. And that is happening while the person on the other side of the boundary is reacting to your boundary. And the question is, can you tolerate those moments of discomfort where you are disappointing them? Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, it is so important to build in a really nice long pause before you say yes to anything this summer. So, what I mean by that is we tend to mess up our own boundaries for a couple of reasons. One, flattery. Somebody says to us, I would love your company. We always love when you attend. Or it's so much more fun when you're there. Something like that. That kind of flattery can have us forgetting to pause and just diving right into a yes. Oh my God, of course I'll be there. I'd love it. Yes, count me in. It's a yes. Not a good idea, right? What I'd like for you to do instead, we've all heard of the 24-hour rule, right? That couldn't be more commonsensical. But I love a new rule for boundary setting that just, I don't know, it takes it to the next level. Here's the idea. When you receive an invitation, whether it's a paperless post, it's a text, it's an email, it's a phone call, whatever it is, your first thought always needs to be, how do I build in a pause? So maybe you're going to say, let me check with my family. I'll get back to you in 24 hours. Or maybe you receive the email and you tell yourself, no, I'm not responding for the 24 hours. But now I want you to put that invitation through sort of a decision-making filter. So the first filter is this. I want you to say to yourself, if I said yes to that invitation and I actually had to attend today, would I be running to my closet to gather the clothes or the gear that I need, so psyched, can't wait to get out the door to attend this thing? If your answer is yes, then you're done with the decision making. And the answer is a yes, right? Because you feel it in your body like, hell yes, I want to attend. What most of us do is we receive the invitation today. Let's say it's for 6 weeks from now, and we fantasize about who we might be 6 weeks from now. Oh, I'll have more energy then. I'll be more social then. I'll wanna chit chat. I'll really enjoy chit chat 6 weeks from now, even though I don't today. And we shoot ourselves in the foot because 6 weeks from now arrives. And what do? We say, I really don't want to attend. Why did I say yes to this? What was I thinking? Well, you were thinking that you might be a changed person 6 weeks from now. It's not the case. So I want you to use that filter of if I had to attend the event today, would I be so thrilled that I feel that visceral, like, hell yes, I can't wait to get out the door? And if your answer is no, then your answer for the event later is also a no, please. One other filter I want you to think of is the should. So if you hear yourself when you receive the invitation saying, oh, I should really attend that. Oh, it would be really nice of me. I should go because whatever, whatever. Please stop. Hear the should. Have a little like red flag go off in your brain that says, oh gosh, there's the should. And then jump to that filter again of wait, if I had to do it today, would I want to go? I bet your answer is no. When you go through that decision making process, you've bought yourself some time and you are ready to reply. You're going to email back, you're going to text back, you're going to call back. I want to remind you that you do not owe the person a lengthy explanation. It can simply sound like this. Thank you so much for inviting me. Unfortunately, I can't attend. I have other plans. Done. They don't need to know that the other plans are you're chilling on the couch with the dog. Okay. Or you can say, here's another script. Thanks so much for inviting me. Unfortunately, I can't go. It doesn't work for me. Again, notice I'm not giving a lengthy explanation. I'm just being clear in my response. And by the way, it's so much more clear and respectful to give them that response now instead of waiting until the night before whatever this event is. Okay. I want to give you one other part of this boundary setting conversation. And I love this and I've done it. It's the idea of coming up with 3, what I like to call steering words that might guide you this summer. So for me, the steering words might be something like spending time with my family, spending time outdoors in nature, and making the most time for old friends that I don't get to see regularly. So now I want you to picture an invitation comes in and it's going through all these filtering procedures. And that's going to be one of them, in addition to the ones I already spoke of. Your next one is the invitation has to either check 1 or 2 or 3, if you want to be really strict, of those boxes. So the invitation comes in and I'm just going to run it through those 3 steering principles. Does it have to do with spending time with family? Oh, yeah, great. I'm in. Oh, does it have to do with spending time in nature, getting together with old friends, whatever it is? If the answer is like, actually, no, it doesn't hit any of those 3, I'm out. It does not hit any of my steering principles. And therefore, my answer is a no. Why? Because my time is so precious. And I know that. And I also, again, we're talking about setting yourself up to succeed this summer. This summer's going to fly by. We all know that. So set yourself up to succeed by being super deliberate and intentional with your decisions around how to spend your time. A final random summer suggestion for you before I close out. I used to do this with my kids. If they're listening, they're rolling their eyes right now, but I love this idea. Gather a basket, put it on wherever, your kitchen island or your kitchen table or whatever. In that basket, I want you to have a roll of stamps, a bunch of envelopes, a nice box of stationery, a couple pens. Get those like return label things, sticky things that you can peel off easily, and like your address labels that you can put on, like when you address Christmas cards. Just have that whole little station set up. And then explain to your kids, hey, this summer, whenever you want to make it, let's say Sunday afternoons tend to be a quiet time. I am going to be asking each one of you to write one letter. Turn on music, light a nice candle, make the atmosphere pleasant, make everybody a lemonade, and say, hey, it's time to write the letters. And the letter can be anything. It can be, I'm thinking of you. It can be, thank you for. It can be, I'm excited to see you next Christmas. Who are you sending these letters to? Anybody. Uncle, aunt, grandma, grandpa, old neighbor who used to live on your street, whoever you want to send them to. But I love how old fashioned this idea is. I love that it's teaching our kids to actually write something handwritten and how to put together a proper envelope. And I love that it's a reminder that people actually still love getting snail mail. Okay. I'll end with a quote here from Gretchen Rubin. I just read her book, Secrets of Adulthood. It's so good. It's really brief and joyful and spot on, I think. Gretchen Rubin says this: when uncertain about how to proceed, make the choice that allows you to choose the bigger life, step into the future, live in an atmosphere of growth, deepen or broaden your relationships, and put your values into the world. Isn't that nice? It's like another filter you can use for decision making as you think about, how can I be intentional with my time? How can I proactively set up an excellent summer? My hope is this. My hope is that you've enjoyed the podcast, you've listened to all these suggestions, and you're leaving feeling excited and intentional with your energy and your goals. And let's pretend this summer, I don't know how many weeks it is. Maybe it's 10 weeks, maybe it's 13 weeks, depending on where your kids are in school. I just want you to sort of project ahead to the end of the summer. Let's pretend it's like middle of August or end of August. And I want you to ask your middle or end of August self before we close up here, who do you want to be? How do you want to have shifted a little? What practices do you hope you might have engaged in on a weekly basis that might shape you ever so slightly, so that your end of August self says to your right now May self, hey, thanks. Thanks for looking out for me. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and I hope you have some great takeaways to use while you go talk to your family about being intentional and fortifying yourself to have an excellent summer. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Rethinking Parenting. If you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to rate, follow, and subscribe. I read all of your comments, feedback, and suggestions, and I so appreciate them. So keep sending them in. Thank you.